Good afternoon and welcome back to the regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. We are proceeding through budget hearing number 3, beginning with the Department of Public Works, presented by Jack Ladley.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Honorable Commissioners. I'm Jack Ladley, the Interim Director for the Department of Public Works. Thank you for the opportunity to present what we as a department see as our critical needs for the upcoming budget cycle. Our team worked diligently to identify essential items that lack current funding sources. Today, I hope to be able to outline these priorities and why they're crucial to maintaining our infrastructure and supporting our community. Before I jump into our critical needs requests, I think it's important for us to highlight the county strategic objectives that guide our department efforts. These objectives ensure that we're improving infrastructure, service quality, and community trust through measurable and actionable strategies. Under the first objective, infrastructure, we aim to complete a comprehensive inventory and condition assessment across all major asset classes. And for us, that includes road and bridge, fleet, and stormwater. This will allow us to prioritize maintenance and funding needs effectively. And of course, all of our critical needs requests are today related to this area. You'll also likely note that many of our requests are centered on stormwater infrastructure. As we mature in our asset management, we've identified this to be an area that requires attention. And then, of course, service quality. Improving service quality involves both enhancing resident satisfaction and ensuring our workforce is engaged and well-equipped. Internally, we're focused on attrition to understand and improve employee retention and engagement, which is key to maintaining a high level of service. And then finally, community trust. We're implementing new communication strategies and continuously evaluating resident satisfaction to ensure that we are transparent and responsive to community needs. Our department's operating indicators, these indicators, of course, help us measure our progress and identify areas where improvement is needed. Under fleet and equipment, while our aim is an average fleet age of 6 years, that's our target, the current average is 7 years. Importantly, though, our critical fleet readiness rate is high at 96%, surpassing our target of 90%. Under our maintenance programs, the chip seal program has exceeded expectations with 99.32 lane miles completed, above the target of 95 lane miles. Likewise, the pavement overlay program exceeded expectations, achieving 77 lane miles against the target of 71. The pavement preservation program, this is our contracted chip seal, fog seal, slurry seal, is another program that exceeded expectations this year with the completion of 211 lane miles. Both the roadway graveling program and our reclamation program did face some challenges this year with the equipment and manpower, and we're hoping that by December 31st, if the weather and equipment cooperates, we'll get close to meeting our production target. And then finally, our customer service. This remains a focus area for us. Our customer service request completion rate within 90 days is at 60%, well below our target of 70%, indicating a need for process improvement in this area. And these are improvements which we've already undertaken through the reorganization of our customer service function. Our first critical needs request is the South Academy Pond upgrades, and this request is for $500,000. This structure is a critical piece of our stormwater management infrastructure, requiring significant upgrades to meet current regulatory requirements and manage sediment accumulation effectively. The pond has been accumulating sediment due to upstream erosion, which makes maintenance difficult and expensive. The current inadequate concrete structures are not designed to handle this sediment load, necessitating upgrades to reduce maintenance frequency and ensure compliance with our municipal separate storm sewer or MS4 permit. Upgrading the pond will reduce the cost and frequency of maintenance and improve downstream water quality, providing long-term savings and environmental benefits. If we don't fund these upgrades, the pond's capacity will continue to diminish, increasing the risk of flooding and noncompliance with the MS4 permit. If it is funded, we plan to stabilize upstream erosion sources and upgrade the pond's components to ensure compliance with the MS4 permit, which also extends the life of the asset. And this next slide is a series of 3 photos, and we wanted to share these with you to help illustrate some of the challenges we're having at this pond location. The first photo shows some of the upstream erosion issues that are causing sediment flows to this pond. And again, I want to be clear, these photos don't do the scope and scale justice, but they are an indication of some of the challenges that we're facing. The second photo shows the inflow point of the pond that is simply clogged with sedimentation. This image was taken in April of 2023. After taking this photo, DPW teams removed the significant sediment from this pond in a large multi-day operation. The third photo shows the return of the sediment within 2 months of the April cleaning operation. So clearly this is an ongoing issue that must be corrected to ensure that we're addressing downstream water quality, potential flooding, as well as MS4 permit compliance. Our next critical needs request is our stormwater conveyance system condition assessment, and this is for $1.5 million. A comprehensive condition assessment of our stormwater conveyance system is a critical requirement under our MS4 permit. This assessment is necessary to identify areas of weakness and plan for necessary upgrades. It's also a key component of the county strategic plan objective 1, infrastructure. The assessment, if funded, will provide the data needed to identify pollutant sources, weaknesses, and areas that require mitigation within our stormwater infrastructure. The information will be crucial for developing proactive maintenance programs and ensuring regulatory compliance. If not funded, without this assessment, we remain in a reactive state, only addressing failures as they occur, which increases the costs and risks of infrastructure damage. Again, wanted to share a couple of photos with you just to kind of highlight what it is we're trying to address. The first photo is a storm sewer system pipe located adjacent to B Street and 2 commercial buildings. The level of degradation of this pipe wasn't evident until it was almost catastrophic. The second image is of a pipe which is companion infrastructure to Goldfield Road that failed this summer. The failure caused an emergency closure of Goldfield Road in order to make repairs. And I think the thing I'd like to highlight in this slide is, or this photo, is if you'll take a look, you can see what appears to be gravel. This isn't sedimentary gravel or stream flow gravel. This is the gravel that the pipe was laid on. And the bottom of that pipe is rusted out so bad that that gravel is now exposed. And so these are the types of things that we are trying to get in front of with this conveyance system assessment. Again, this request, if approved, will greatly assist in the development of proactive maintenance programs as well as ensuring regulatory compliance. Our next critical needs ask is for a stormwater master plan. The county stormwater master plan is egregiously outdated, having been last revised in 1984. And I recognize that the cost of such a study can give sticker shock. And I'd like to explain some of the key cost drivers. The first, of course, is, as we're all aware here, just the geographic scale of the county. Included in this, in the county size, is 13 watersheds, 21 sub-watersheds, 145 drainage basins, 11 jurisdictional dams, and 185 permanent control measures, or what we generically call ponds. Also, a key factor of the cost is our varied terrain. The county has a range of topographical features which we are anticipating will increase the complexity of stormwater modeling. And then, of course, limited existing studies and hydrologic models that are available to us. Limited studies have been conducted since 1984, and challenges will be inherent with selecting the appropriate hydrologic models to use that represent or present the complexities of the county well. And then, as you have heard earlier, regulatory requirements. Compliance with both state and federal stormwater management regulations, including those related to the Clean Water Act, will add to our costs due to the need for subject matter experts in these areas. We also are hoping through this process to have a large public outreach effort to engage communities across a wide area in order to help identify problematic areas. A revised stormwater master plan, if approved, will provide a comprehensive guide for mitigating flood risks, planning infrastructure upgrades, and ensuring regulatory compliance across both rural and urban areas within the county. Without a current stormwater master plan, we'll continue to operate in a reactive mode. which leads to higher costs and potential legal penalties due to non-compliance with regulatory requirements. In this next slide, I'd just like to show a quick video, and I'm hoping this works, and it is working. This is from the floods of 2023, and this is the Ellicott Bridge. You can see where the floodwaters have swept down and essentially wiped out our detour that we had in place. If you'll notice in the background, as it pans around, you'll see some of our very large pipe that has been floated downstream with this action. Fortunately, these events or these types of events don't happen too often for us, but when they do, they're catastrophic for those impacted. The completion of this stormwater master plan will help us understand these flows, basins that contribute to these flows, and inform our future development and CIP projects to protect against these types of flows. Our next critical need is the Windmill Gulch Regional Detention Ponds, and this is a $700,000 request. These ponds were constructed before the current MS4 permit standards were in place and require a detailed condition assessment to guide necessary upgrades for flood control and water quality treatment. These two ponds have accumulated significant sediment over the years, and their current condition poses a risk to downstream properties due to potential flooding. The benefit, if this is approved, is upgrading these ponds will enhance flood protection for nearby neighborhoods, reduce long-term maintenance costs, and improve overall water quality. If funded, we plan to conduct a detailed study that will assess the current state of the ponds and guide the necessary upgrades to meet the latest stormwater management standards. And again, just wanted to demonstrate some photos that are indicative of these ponds. While our maintenance crews have been able to address some of the issues you see in these photos, we simply don't have a good idea of the extent to which these ponds have deteriorated beyond their original designs. Again, this condition assessment, if approved, will inform what it will take to return these ponds to their original design capacity as well as upgrade to meet current regulatory requirements. And then our next request is road. Yes.
Where are those ponds at?
I'm sorry.
Where are the Windmill Gulch ponds?
They are down south in the fountain area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, our next request is our road resurfacing and safety improvements. As you're aware, with over 2,300 lane miles of paved roadways, additional funding is necessary to keep deferred transportation infrastructure maintenance at a minimum. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, with a similar request last year, we were able to repave 77 lane miles of roadway and conduct pavement preservation activities on another 211 lane miles throughout the county. With this request, we'd also like to apply a portion of this funding on system-wide safety improvements in hotspot areas with a focus on stop-controlled intersections. We currently have our local road safety committee looking at locations and treatments that we can bring to bear to improve safety at these locations. The benefit, of course, is the continuity in funding ensures our roadways are maintained at their current service levels or higher, and pavements are preserved and lifespan is maximized. Without this funding, by relying on sources like Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority funds only, the county's roadway network is projected to degrade from our current service levels. Our current system-wide PCI, and that's our pavement condition index, 1 being the lowest, 100 being the highest, is at a 69. Our modeling shows that if we were to rely solely on PPRTA funding, our PCI would fall to a 62 within 5 years and see a continuous expedited drop from there, and we simply wouldn't be able to keep up. With this funding request, coupled with the additional funding we received in previous years, our modeling shows we can increase our overall PCI by 1% each year. We can accomplish this by making data-driven asset management decisions, solid condition assessments, a robust overlay program, coupled with the continued use of our pavement preservation program. If funded, funds will be placed into a current ongoing maintenance contracts for expedited execution, and we hope to have a roads list, and we will have a roads list ready for presentation to the board sometime in early to mid-November for your consideration. Our critical needs request add an additional $16.2 million to the base budget. As a recap, that's $500,000 for the South Academy pond upgrades, $1.5 million for our stormwater conveyance system condition assessment, $1.5 million for our stormwater master plan, $700,000 for the Windmill Gulch Regional Ponds condition assessment, and then $12 million for road resurfacing and safety improvements. And pending your questions, this concludes my presentation.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, are those one-time increases or are they permanent?
There, one time.
Oh, darn it. Okay. That would be nice if they could be permanent, but that's not going to happen apparently this year. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so it'd be nice if we got those permanent. Looking at Nikki, no, I just wanted to thank you for this. When Stan and I came on board, and I think the commissioners we've seen, it's usually public safety and roads are what we get the most, response and questions to. And so I just wanted to thank the Public Works Department and Nikki again for all the great work in 8 years of seeing us being very strategic and impactful on these increases over the last several years. And so I like seeing this once again. And it's going to be my last budget, seeing increases to roads because that's what we do. We get public safety and roads. That's what we get calls on, and that's what I've always tried to prioritize. And so thank you for this budget request.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll echo the comments of Commissioner Gonzalez. I feel like we've done good for DPW, allowing for pay increases, helping out in allowing you to get CDL licensure for employees that come into DPW, and then investing immensely in capital equipment to modernize that equipment, making it safer for your employees, but also just massively enhancing their productivity. And then also investing in asset management control software that allows you to better manage, your physical equipment. These are all really great things, and we've done this together as a team. I'm really proud of what you all have done, and my thanks and regards to the entire team, every single person. On the $1,500 for the stormwater conveyance system condition assessment, $15 million, 1.5 million. Let me get this correct. Yeah, I think it's to the extent that we may not have really excellent fidelity on what we've got and what we don't have. It's really important to know that, because if we don't even know the answer to that question, then we don't know what kinds of grants to chase or what kind of work to do. And, us getting now into this, the new Army Corps of Engineers project, I think we're pursuing the $20.5 million grant authority. This assessment should, in my opinion, you can tell me if this is accurate or inaccurate, would inform us about what projects we're going to truly need to do in a preventative way, and then getting the authorization for that grant money, which doesn't mean we have the grant money yet. It means we can go for those dollars, plus everything else that we've been doing. We should really, maybe 2, 3, or 4 years from now, be in even that much better shape.
You're absolutely right, Commissioner. And I'll tell you, as we've, I said, matured in our asset management process, we have found clearly, based on our critical needs requests over the last couple of years, that stormwater is probably the one that we're lacking the most in. And by completing these assessments, it adds that fidelity that you're talking about. We're going to know, what do we have? What condition is it in? How does that impact development? How does that impact our CIP projects? It just starts to answer those questions. And so that in the future, just like with roadways, when we stand up here with those budgetary requests, we can come up with the data and the facts, not an emotional plea, but the data and the facts to back those requests up.
Yeah, great. And I just imagine that what you'll do once you're informed by this, assuming it's voted for approval and all of that, is you'll, from the output of this assessment, you'll build a strategic plan on taking care of the worst of the worst.
Absolutely.
That has the highest risk for harm to citizens or harm for productivity, that kind of stuff. And then just keep working it year after year until we have a substantial amount of it worked off.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. You and all of the DOT Public Works employees have just done a phenomenal job of streamlining processes. And you just mentioned just the data, just the facts, and you have put more and more systems online to be able to do that. Down to real time, where are the snow plows and where do they need to be deployed that's maybe more efficient. I think it's really impressive. So while these numbers and critical needs, pretty much capital expense requests look very, very large, they are critical to what we can do and how we can continue to serve the community. And the other point was made, hey, we prioritize public safety and infrastructure. And to me, roads and bridges are a part of public safety as well. And so you see big price tags on things like this, but I believe they're well worth protecting the safety of how our citizens get around. So thank you for stellar job in doing that and being efficient with it.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Madam, thank you, Madam Chair. So, thanks. I know Holly mentioned one is in my district, District 4. Good photos of the damage that we need to support. On I think the pipe failings. Did you say Goldfield or Goldfield?
Goldfield.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
District 4 as well.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, I'm glad to see some of these fixes being done. So, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. I just too want to say thank you for the tremendous work. To Commissioner Bremer's point, these are pretty large requests, but this is exactly what this board has prioritized. We know how important that is, and these are the core services that every single one of our citizens expects for us to take care of. These are not things that they want to see neglected, and I believe that this focus on infrastructure is exactly what our citizens have asked us to do. Certainly, I feel that way in my district, and I'm going to look forward to supporting these items. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, this is going to help us make better budget decisions going forward, as well as better policy decisions. So thank you for all the work from you and your team bringing these items to us.
Thank you all for recognizing the hard work of the DPW team. And I got to tell you, this is the highlight of this event for me, is being able to take those kind words back to that hardworking team and let them know that they're appreciated. So thank you.
Great. So we're going to go ahead now and call for public comment on this presentation. So if there's anyone here who would like to speak on this presentation, if you'd come forward now. And I don't see anyone coming forward in the room, and we do not have anyone online. So with that, we will move on to our facilities and strategic infrastructure with Brian Olson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I hope not to put you to sleep after your lunch day with this presentation, so I'll try to keep it exciting. I do appreciate the time in front of you today. Always appreciate the support of this board in past projects and in the future. I do want to mention, I appreciate the leadership for Brett and Nikki and Sunny. This is a process that started months and months ago, and it seems like a process that continues to improve, and because of their leadership, and I'm thankful for that. So facilities is a 24/7 operation, and weekends, evenings, it seems like there's always something happening here that we have to support this community. We are an internal services department, and because of that, we either directly or indirectly support the mission of every department or elected office in this county. We're dedicated to the health and safety of all the county staff and all the citizens that enter a county building. So I'm here to share some of our strategic goals that facilities has. That first one is our facilities master plan. We've been in the process of completing a master plan for over a year now, and we've conducted several in-depth interviews with each elected office, each department, to help determine if the current space is sufficient, but also to plan for future needs. As a part of this plan, we've also done building assessments to to transparently report the condition of all of our county buildings, major county buildings, and help us to plan and prioritize maintenance based on available funding. Another goal we have is our department level strategic plan. As an internal services department, we look at the best way to serve each department and each elected office. So this is a way for us to help to focus those goals and serve those needs of our customers, the county. So we have two critical needs to request from you today. First one is a courthouse renovation. In the past year, we've completed a courthouse optimization study. That's helped us to look at the future growth needs of the county courthouse. And also, so we're here for a one-time funding request to support a plan to address some of those needs by constructing 4 new courtrooms, office spaces for magistrates and support staff, and training rooms that will support the entire courthouse. So at $4.5 million. The other critical need is garage security contract. As the downtown continues to grow, we're seeing more and more events happen, and the parking garage is being utilized more and more to support these events. So in an effort to provide more security, not just for staff, but for the public, we found that this security contract is very important. So the budget is not far from what last year was. It's just to add the courthouse renovation at $4.5 million, and then the garage security contracts for $107,000. And that's it. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to help.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I really appreciate and was incredibly impressed at the study that you and Mr. Waters did, as well as the vendor that we hired on the courthouse. I think it was very innovative. I think that every nook and cranny in the courthouse was examined. And I think that's really important so we can be transparent with our constituents that we don't have control when the state needs more judges here. We're the fastest growing county in the state. We are going to need more judges. And so we don't have control on that, but we've done a study to say this is what we can do now. And we have the funds to do that. And I think that that just represents fiscal responsibility and accountability that I really have appreciated seeing amongst our administrative staff, including you. So thank you.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear my name there. So, thank you also. I appreciate the work that you've done here, and I'll echo Commissioner Williams' comments about the strategic study with regard to the courthouse. I mean, that's a big chunk of change for that building, but the alternative is so much more expensive. And I think the findings from that study were outstanding with regard to locating a kind of some alternatives to a massive new building, or adding a large annex, which would have been, tens of millions, maybe reaching up to close to 100 million. So this gets us, as I recall, several magistrates' offices into the courthouse, plus some renovations that will allow the courthouse to accommodate the growing nature of our district attorney's office in El Paso County, which is outstanding for the near term. Will be good for 5-8 years or so. We still have the long term that we'll have to figure out how to deal with. But I know that we've got a lot of initiatives to try to address that with the state legislature. So I just want to thank the team, like everybody else is doing here, for being able to do this in a much more cost-effective way to allow us to handle this for a little while longer while we figure out the longer-term strategic issue. Thank you.
And if I may, I would also, Sunny's been a key part of this project, and I appreciate her help on this, and we definitely couldn't have done it without her. And I want to shout out to Jill Travis. Jill Travis is leads my project managers, and she's just a rock star. And there's a lot of changes that happen last minute, and she's always been, right there for the moment to help us get this across the finish line. She'll be part of this project, the construction project, if it's approved, of course. And but I appreciate Jill and my entire team.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And the Commissioner has already kind of generally mentioned this. At the start of the year, we were very concerned this could be a 40, 50, $100 million issue with the, the needs. We have to meet the needs and the demands of the states with the judges and supporting them. And so $4.5 million is a lot of money, but I mean, originally at the start of this year, we were looking at tens of millions of dollars of potentially having to meet the needs of the state for our local community. And so, yeah, so this is actually very, very good. And again, the hard work of yourself, as much as Sonny, Brett, and the other team, we're really working on this to get us to where we are now, where $4.5 million is a lot of money, but can you imagine if we had to spend 40, 50, $100 million right now? Thank you.
I think it's a very cost-effective answer to what we're trying to achieve in that courthouse.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Thank you. I think there's a recurring theme here today. Number one is efficiency and finding really practical ways to meet the needs and expectations of our citizens. You've done that once again here with this proposal. The second is public safety. And our judicial system and the courthouse and the security of that facility is just as much a public safety concern as having sheriff's deputies on the street, because incidentally, they are transporting people from our county jail into that building, and our citizens are getting, their right to fair and speedy trial in that location. If there are not enough courtrooms or enough judges, none of that happens, and the whole public safety infrastructure net falls apart. So I appreciate that, our budget office and our facilities office understand all of the implications of all of these things that we've been seeing in the form of critical needs requests today. So thank you once again for tremendous work.
I'll just add my thanks to that. As it was alluded to by Commissioner Vanderwerf, for the knowledge of the public, we are pursuing options with the state, hopefully through the legislature, in order to be able to work on that courthouse funding. It's a concern for counties across Colorado. We know that it's become a CCI priority for us to find that. And so I think it's important not only to see the great work that's being done to meet the needs of our community right now, but the tremendous work that's going into long-term planning and working with the state to identify solutions that will benefit our community down the road as well. And a huge shout out to our government affairs team for the work on that. That has been a tremendous lift, and also a really important one for our community. So it's great to be able to highlight the work that's being done on our budget, but we don't just stop there. We're looking for those ways to work with other partners across the state and find solutions. But thank you for a fantastic presentation. I'm just going to ask one more time if there are any additional comments or questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate you and all of your team for all of their hard work. And so at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and call for public comment on this presentation. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? And seeing none, we have none online. So we will move to our planning and community development with Megan Harrington.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Megan Harrington, Director of Planning and Community Development. So here this afternoon to present our 2025 critical needs request. As you know, planning is a very front-facing department. We focus on customer service, both at our front counter and through the development review process. And that directly impacts the county strategic plan goal number 2, to provide that high service quality. So with that, providing the high service quality that we do, our critical need for 2025 is the addition of a position, Fire Safety and Wildfire Mitigation Program Manager. Lengthy title, but it really hits on the two needs that we have, which are a position to review for fire safety as well as the wildfire mitigation. And that need comes out of the language in the Land Development Code as well as in the state statute. And so the statute language says that within unincorporated El Paso County, fire protection districts have the authority to adopt and enforce fire codes based on the adoption of the resolution by the Board of County Commissioners. And in 2013, the board did that. They adopted the resolution, but it accepted the wildland urban interface. And the resolution goes on to state that the board found these wildland type standards would be more appropriately addressed in the county's land development code, and that's where they are today. We rely on the fire authority, which is the fire protection district, to make recommendations to the board, but the ultimate approving body is the Board of County Commissioners. In 2020, that coordination with the fire districts was amended into the land development code, and now the code does read that we use the fire authority for making recommendations, but goes on to state again that the final authority for approval stays with El Paso County. So having a position that has fire safety protection background and that subject matter expert within the department will just help us bridge that gap between coordination with the fire districts and the development. So the code also states that the Board of County Commissioners may adopt alternatives. And having a position that is a subject matter expert for fire safety within the department will assist us in making those recommendations to you. So Chapter 6.3.3 of the Land Development Code is the fire safety and wildfire protection sections. So we would see this position really ensuring compliance with adopted codes through the development review process, providing technical assistance to county officials, perhaps working with the Sheriff's Office, Office of Emergency Management, coordinating wildfire mitigation partnerships, and again, being that main point of contact with fire officials. We have great coordination now, but that would just give us a dedicated person within the department to ensure that we continue that coordination. Then this position would review all of the land development applications and could potentially also coordinate on-site inspections. Is what is being approved on paper being constructed in the field? So this is the planning department's budget. It's the $120,000 for the position. I believe that equates to about $152,000 with the $2,500 for the one-time FTE setup. And that concludes my presentation.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I think this is a very good idea. And I can just even keep my comments at that, but having the Black Forest area in my district and the Woodmore area in my district, I know of at least, we rely a lot on the homeowners to personally do the wildfire mitigation. I know the city passed some kind of tax to help with wildfire mitigation on the west side. But I always say wildfire mitigation is your own personal responsibility. But we do have some resources in our community that once this employee is hired and onboarded, would be useful to have them know about. One is the slash and mulch in Black Forest, which is quite popular in the summer. And then I think Woodmore does an annual cleanup too. And it's just helpful to know, those kind of things too, so that we can get the message out to more and more people who do mitigate their properties. But this is, I think, going to be a fabulous addition. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Vice Chair Bremer.
Thank you. Over and over again, as your project teams bring forth applications to us, this becomes a question that we don't always have the data at our fingertips for. And I just appreciate your figuring out a way for us to be able to answer the questions that we're all, that we've all at times asked. And I think it's just a very good idea, is a great way to put it. And I look forward to future land use decisions, being able to really know what a situation actually is, and to also provide that customer service at the beginning of any application process that someone may bring forward.
Yeah, and Commissioner Bremer, I think we're doing a great job internally with interpretation of the existing land development code, but taking it to a position that is a fire safety professional. If we need to evaluate that language, which is in the code, do we need to make changes, and what are those changes? That is another area where this position will be extremely helpful to the county.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And I think this is excellent. Program manager working in this space, it's same as my colleagues have mentioned. To take it perhaps just a bit further, though, once you have a program manager in place, they're going to need, I think, a set of tools in order for them to do this job well. Certainly, reviews of the code and all of that, that's certainly part of it. But I do know that we got at least a limited modeling capability at PPACG. I believe you may have access to it or have used it occasionally, and they are using it for, at least in a kind of a very simplistic way, with regard to infrastructure development. And really, when we talk about evacuation of high-risk fire areas, there's an interplay between the area, the codes of the houses, and the ability for people to evacuate out of those places, and that is an infrastructure component. So it just seems like an additional thing to take on with this is to work on giving this program manager some tools that maybe might be able to model how to get out of these dangerous places, but it also could be maybe helping to inform us with regard to what additional mechanical mitigation that we might need, in which case then we could go chase a grant for that or something. But it is kind of a system with regard to fire safety that can have all of these elements and components included in that. So if you're already there with some of those tools, that's great, but if not, that sounds like something to work on.
Sir.
Thank you.
I'll just add that thank you for this. I too think it's a good idea. And I think it really demonstrates some of the responsiveness to our citizens, which I appreciate. I think some of the items that were brought up are probably really a little bit in the OEM lane, and I'm sure that there will be great crossover and potential for working together with this new individual. So do you have any final comments?
No, I don't. Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, with that, I'm going to call for public comment on this item. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this presentation? And no one in the room and no one online. Okay, with that, I think we have some final comments from Ms. Simmons.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Actually, I don't have very much this afternoon. We don't have any updates to the budget. We're still trending on track for how we budgeted through the preliminary balanced budget process. So no proposed updates from staff. So at this point, our next budget hearing will be on November 5th. That is the hearing that we will do final direction in public session. So that's the day I get to play with a spreadsheet and actually do math in public, where we won't take any action that day, but we will take head nods and direction from the commissioners on what you would support in the final original adopted budget. And so that's through that date is the date where we would accept public comment to have that guide the budget process. And so if citizens wish to submit any comments, they can do that through the budget office, they can do that through county administration or any commissioner directly. And so just want to put that out there. And that's all I have for today.
Any final comments or questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so with the conclusion of item 13A, we are going to return back up in our agenda to item 11.
Item number 11 is a resolution supporting Amendment G, property tax exemption for veterans with disabilities. Ryan Parcell, Executive Director, Government Affairs.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. As directed, we have on this agenda item a a resolution to support Amendment G, which has to do with property taxes and veterans.
Do I have commissioners who have comments? Commissioner Williams?
You want comments first?
Either way.
Okay, I think that this is a good amendment to support because this is, the homestead exemption is limited to veterans. I'm reading out of the Independence Institute voter guide, so I wanted to quote them. It is limited to veterans with service-related disability rated 100% permanent. With voter approval, this exemption would be expanded to those classified as having individual unemployability. I certainly think that those who have served our nation and are no longer in a position where they are employable because of that service truly deserve a break on their homestead exemption. So that's why I'm supporting it.
Additional comments or Commissioner Vandenberg?
Yes, thank you. And as a veteran myself, and knowing there are a lot of veterans that live in our community, and also knowing that we've had some challenges with regard to housing costs and property tax on those houses, this just seems like an essential thing to do to support this. And I hope that this is successful as a ballot measure, but I will also be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion on this item?
I move to approve this resolution supporting Amendment G.
Second.
Okay, and last call for comments. I'm just going to add mine briefly here, which is I can think of no better use for a program like this than for our veterans who have served us all and deserve our honor and respect. So with that, I will call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Item 12.
Item number 12 is a resolution opposing Proposition 127. Ryan Parcell, Executive Director, Government Affairs.
Yeah, thank you. And in similar fashion, as directed by the board, this resolution is to oppose Proposition 127. And I'll step aside because I think that there are some folks that want to speak on this.
Great. So if you are here to speak on this item, if you could come on down, introduce yourself, and we'd love to hear from you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Lauren Truitt. I'm a longtime El Paso County resident, born and raised here in Colorado Springs. Commissioner Williams, I'm in your district up in Woodmore. This resolution is paramount for Colorado. As we face a growing out-of-state interest in our state, in moving to Colorado, in living and playing in our communities, one of the key components of Proposition 127 is to remove management authority from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. By joining a growing number of bipartisan counties, this board, this commission, would put a line in the stand, standing behind scientific wildlife management, backing the policies, the management, the strategies of Colorado Parks and Wildlife that have served our state for over 125 years. Not only are mountain lion populations, bobcat and lynx thriving across their range, we are a leading science-based organization contributing to science across the nation and in other countries. I urge this commission, this board, this body to oppose 127 and adopt this resolution to stand behind scientific wildlife management and protect our communities for continued safety for future generations. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for being here. And again, I'll just remind you, just please do state your name for the record so that we have that.
I am standing up. Brett Axton, I'm the president of Safari Club International here in Colorado, as well as the owner of Rocky Mountain Roosters, which is a private hunting club east of Colorado Springs for the last 40 years. I'm actively involved in the hunting community, as a lot of you know. And what we need to do is let the people that are educated and have gone to school and do this on a daily basis, they manage our wildlife. By taking that opportunity away from our officers and our commissioners, it hoodwinks the public. The amount of people that are having the voter remorse over the wolf problem is real. We can see that on a daily basis. They say, oh, 127, that's the wolf thing. No, it's not the wolf thing, it's the mountain lion thing. And the whole idea is to not take away mountain lion hunting, because the lions are gonna get killed. They're gonna get killed by the Parks and Wildlife people when they kill somebody's horse or pet or whatever. I get daily emails with cameras from the Ring cameras, people's mountain lions in their houses, literally in their houses and in their properties. And it's sad to see that could be a problem cat down the road. One thing that I'd like to reiterate is the fact that these out-of-state entities they've moved literally into Colorado so they could put this on, this referendum and this proposition. I was in the planning stages on the opposition of this at the title board when they were going to give us a title for this and make sure the blue book was right. And they literally said that they intend to make this hunting without dogs a reality. So if you hunt ducks or geese or pheasants or rabbits, they want to make sure that you can't do that with electronic collar. They keep using that as an ID. The electronic collar is a great way to manage your dogs. It's not to hurt them, it's to find out where they are. So mountain lions are part of our wildlife. They are a big game species. 1965, there was about 200 lions in Colorado. They made it a big game species. There's around between 3,000 and 5,000. It's a subjective number. A deer a day, a deer a week is what an adult lion kills. So let's just say for fun that there's 3,000 adult lions in Colorado. That's 156,000 deer that are getting killed. Hunters don't kill fawns. Lions and bobcats do. The Proposition 127 talks about lynx as a management animal. You can't kill lynx, it's federally protected. So it's flawed from the beginning. I just hope that we can, how do I say this right? Oppose the resolution as a county, because I know that we've got a lot of hunters here, but we have a lot of soccer moms that don't hunt, but they don't need to have their kids worry about lions. I got a video today of a mountain lion circling a park up in Brighton during the daytime on Sunday. So they're out there, just got to be careful. I appreciate you taking your time and listening.
Thank you.
It's an honor to be here today in front of El Paso County Commissioners. Madam Chair, thank you. Board members. I'm John Swartout. I live in Douglas County, but I was formerly the director of Colorado counties. Before that, I worked for 3 governors in this state, and I worked for Senator Wayne Howard, always doing natural resources and wildlife issues in those capacities. And I'm here today on behalf of landowners across the state. And I can echo all the words that the people preceding me have said. I agree with what they said, but I want to tell a story instead. I spent my whole career working with landowners in this state and trying to build a partnership between those landowners and the Division of Wildlife, then now Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Because as Governor Romer realized in the 80s, this adversarial relationship between landowners and the state, and particularly the Division of Wildlife, wasn't serving anyone, especially wildlife in our state. And we had the Clinton administration in Washington, D.C. that wanted to get rid of grazing and wanted to do a number of things that really hurt landowners in Colorado and across the West. Some people even called it the War on the West back in those days. And what we did, starting with Roy Romer and then Governor Bill Owens, was we said, well, let's build a partnership with landowners where we work together with them to build sustainable wildlife in our state, sustainable practices that help agriculture and that help create wildlife corridors, maintain wildlife corridors across our state. We did conservation measures with these landowners, and when it started, it was really difficult. Landowners didn't want to trust people that they felt had not treated them properly in the past. And it took a long time. It took 20 years to build this partnership. And things like the wolf reintroduction and now this coming on the heels of that is eroding the trust of landowners across the state without whom, especially our large landowners across the state, they provide the winter habitat for deer, elk, and other wildlife, including bobcats and mountain lions, because they make the same trek the cattle make. Cattle go on to the summer ranges, some of that's federal land in the summer, and they come back down to the low areas, which is usually private land. That partnership is essential to maintain wildlife in our state. And a bunch of extremists coming from out of state in Washington, D.C. that want to ban hunting, and they say, well, we're just trying to get rid of trophy hunting. Trophy hunting is illegal in this state. Using drones to track wildlife is illegal in this state already. We don't need a proposition that's based on a misconception and mistruth to influence people who rightfully want to protect wildlife in our state. Landowners already do that. They're essential. Without our large landowners, wildlife wouldn't be in the good condition it's in across our state. So it's a personal plea on my part. I'm volunteering for these landowners across the state because they've had enough. And you know what happens with a landowner when they've had enough? They say, hey, my gate is closed. You can't come on my land anymore to count sage grouse or other things that are pending to be listed because that trust is lost. And so they're asking commissioners across the state. I know Eagle County voted this morning unanimously to oppose this. So it's bipartisan across the state. Gunnison County, they get it. They get that this partnership is important. Landowners have been through too much, and not just that, but over-regulation as well. I know you know that well here. But they're asking if you'd just please consider opposing this 127, putting an end of ballot box biology. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, I'll bring it up to commissioners for comments, questions, or motion.
I do think this is a lot of a culture war at the ballot box, and the mountain lions, they're not being hunted for trophies. They serve an important part in what I would call the circle of life. I worry that now that we're reintroducing wolves and letting the mountain lion population grow, if we can no longer protect ourselves when they're on our property, that the bears might be next. And when they're in real life, they're not cute, cuddly creatures. As my dad learned, he could never shoot an animal or a deer. He was too tender-hearted, but when the bear went to attack his son, he shot the bear. And that was what he had to do. And so I think that it's really important that some of these issues that show up on the ballot are they don't represent the Colorado that I've been a part of for 30 years. And they do try to take away our individual freedoms. And I'm fully in support of this resolution.
Commissioner Vanderwerf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am also fully in support of this resolution. I stand behind scientific wildlife management, for Pete's sake. I stand behind Rocky Mountain Roosters. Thank you for being here. I stand behind allowing Colorado Parks and Wildlife do their job. I stand behind the hunting industry, which is under attack in Colorado now. And by the way, the hunting industry rivals the ski industry in funds created for the citizens of Colorado, $2.8 billion industry in the state of Colorado. To those people that are bringing money from outside the state and coming into Colorado and messing with us, I call to you to leave us alone. Stop. Let us decide for ourselves what's right for our state. We don't go running around messing with your state. Leave us alone. And we're under attack on a lot of different ways from outside money. They're trying to buy our elections. They're messing with our industries. They're harming our citizens. and they're costing us a whole lot of useless money that gets used in the wrong way. And we really need that for other purposes, because then we have to fight it, spend money to fight it. And I come back to, please leave us alone. I tell you, I'm really heartened that Eagle County even opposes this. This is bipartisan opposition to Proposition 127, which is being propped up by outside money. Leave us alone. Thank you. I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too will be supporting this. It's sad when the misperceptions continue to be spread, as you mentioned, by outsiders. I think the common folk know, hunters, fishermen, they're like among the most supportive of conservation and smart, fact-based wildlife management, and it makes sense. And it's their own interest to make sure that we're not, eradicating a species. They're doing what they can with smart practices to ensure that all of the wildlife is sustainable. And bills like this are just going to actually make it the reverse, where now these populations are not sustainable, and then government has to step in, do the exact same thing that a hunter would do, except the hunter is going to pay a fee for their permit that can be used to then, again, proper wildlife management, where the government's going to go in and cull these things on taxpayer funds, costing more money and costing more issues long term. So I support the smart wildlife management and all those that hear the great comments here. And so I'll be supporting this.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Thank you. My colleagues have explored this issue thoroughly and said it very well today. I am more and more disturbed by the misinformation campaigns with so many of these propositions on the ballot. And I think it's intentional muddying of the waters, so to speak, and not being very clear and transparent with our voters. We just talked for 6 hours about a transparent budget. And you heard me in the last comments, pull the strings of if this, then this, then this, then this. This is all, we're in a position of real responsibility of stewarding that, and this falls right in here, but I'm disturbed by the misinformation campaigns, particularly some of the television ads I see around this issue. And so I'll be in support of this too. I really appreciate as we evaluate what the commissioners should weigh in on, we're oftentimes looking at things that directly impact county services or our core responsibilities. And yet when we have a group of citizens or others that come to us and say, but this is how it affects your everyday citizen. This is how it affects Brett Axton's business. This is how it affects great relationships with Parks and Wildlife, which we're always striving to pay attention to. But for you all reaching out and understanding what impact we could have, I'm not sure that you would see this here today and without coming to our governmental affairs and many of the commissioners on this board. So I greatly appreciate that because it is an important issue for so much of El Paso County. We still have a ton of ranch land in this county, a ton of wildland urban interface, a lot of forestry managed areas with wildlife corridors across them, and a lot of development that is also, we're constantly evaluating what the impacts of are as a whole. And so to have a group of citizens say, hey, this actually is pretty squarely in your lane, I think is great. And so I look forward to casting the vote on this. Thank you.
Said so well by my colleagues. There's really not much that I can add outside of a huge thank you for being here, for speaking on this. Really grateful that some folks from our community who are much better versed on many of these topics than I am, but I've learned a whole lot looking into this one. And, what Mr. Sportout said at the end about ballot box biology. That to me is just such an important thing when we're talking about what this really means is we're completely taking out one little piece of wildlife management and putting it on a ballot. And nothing works well when we look myopically through a very tiny lens. And I do think that there have been some very emotional pleas. I'm very grateful that the information around trophy hunting was shared, because again, I think that that has been a blatant piece of misinformation that has tugged on some folks' heartstrings and yet is not accurate at all. And we've seen where these things can go bad in other places, and I'll point out forestry management. We have watched the terrible results of what was poor forestry management in many parts of our country where, we had people concerned with cutting down trees. Well, we all like trees, but that doesn't mean they don't need to be managed. And that health actually is better for trees. It's better for people. And so I think this is a very similar situation. And we have other situations that we can point to and learn from. And absolutely, I'm in support of this resolution as well. So with that, I don't think we actually had a motion. Madam?
May I make the motion? I'd like to make the motion. I'd like to move to approve resolution opposing Proposition 127.
Second.
This is a very popular one.
Everybody was jumping for that.
So that has been moved and seconded passionately. So it sounds like this is going to be an easy vote, but I will go ahead and call the roll. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Van der Werf.
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bremer.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Thank you so much for being here and making us very aware on that item. So we have already completed 13. We are on 14.
Item number 14 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Item 15.
Item number 15 is the executive session, and there is no request for executive session.
With that, we have come to the end of our agenda, and this meeting is adjourned.